here.
See, I always have candy in mine.
Yeah, we need to amp that pulse.
Yeah.
She's good. She's got it.
So normally I do
What
that.
else do that when it's time to start?
Well, we have another minute yet.
Oh, Justin. You're good to start. You're close. Yeah, 6 o'clock. Cell phone time.
We will now reconvene the Salem-Keizer School Board meeting. Rebecca Jacobson from GHR is with us today in place of Paul DeCopolis. Would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have agenda modifications. We have one regarding a lease for Chromebooks. That item will be added to tonight's agenda as item 7B. And then we are ready for our
Can I just make
spotlight?
one comment on agenda modifications? On the continuum of care, it is on as an action item tonight, and there might be a couple questions. I did not realize they were asking for a 2-year commitment. So if we decide not to vote on it tonight, we could bring it forward as the second reading next time. But I don't think it requires agenda modification.
Okay. We ready to start spotlights then?
We are. All right, good evening, everyone. Gwen Brewy-Fink, our Director of Secondary Curriculum and Instruction, is going to present our first spotlight, our Community Partner of the Month.
Good evening, Chair Hyen, Vice Chair Lippold, and Superintendent Perry. I'm here tonight to present to you our Community Partner of the Month from Willamette ESD, Willamette Promise, Adam Whalen. Adam, if you could come on up. With your team is fine, too, if you want your team to come. When a Spanish language teacher at North Salem High School took an unexpected medical leave last April, it appeared that almost 120 Viking students wouldn't be able to earn college credits at Western Oregon University. And that's when Adam Whalen and his team at Willamette ESD stepped in. Adam's title is Accelerated Learning Manager, and he facilitates partnerships between universities and school districts that allow students to earn credits at both high schools and universities. In order to get the college credits, the 117 North Salem students in 4 different classrooms needed to take a 28-page Spanish assessment test. And that test included 5 sections: listening, speaking, reading, writing, and communicative awareness, which in language teacher lingo means grammar, just so you know. Working with Assistant Principal Carlos Ruiz and School Office Specialist Clarita Alvarez, Adam and his team filled in for the teacher on medical leave and scheduled and administered the tests at North Salem. It took 9 days for Adam and Fatima Chacon Martinez from the WESD to administer, score, and input all the test results. Adam and his team, nothing short of busy the first 2 weeks of May. He manages partnerships between universities and 45 Oregon school districts, and Salem-Keizer is just one of them. Adam says he couldn't just stand by and do nothing when he knew students at North Salem enrolled in Spanish language classes, couldn't just stand by and do nothing when he knew that students at North Salem enrolled in Spanish language classes because the college credits were on the table. Along with assistance from Fatima, Adam also wants to recognize WESD Senior Secretary Katie Anderson for her work coordinating student schedules with North Salem School Office Specialist Clarita Alvarez. Thank you, Adam and the Willamette ESD, for going the extra mile for our North students and for all the work you do with our high schools. Congratulations on being recognized as our Community Partner of the Month for August 2019.
right, our next spotlight is our Salem-Keizer Community Relations and Communications team.
That's you guys. I am so excited about this recognition and what it means to our district. We've got just a remarkable communications office that works nights, weekends. Emily rode with our transportation guys during a snow day to film what it takes to make that decision. Erin has turned around our internal communications. Karma, you wouldn't find a more detail-oriented person, which is just what you want working on a bond measure like the one that we passed. That's the third largest in Oregon history. Brian has just done a remarkable job on our social media and helping our schools be better users and harnessing the power of it. And Caleb is very special in that he worked on all of this work as a student at Willamette University. And he just graduated this year, and he is a contractor with the bond, working on our communications in that regard. So we just have an excellent team. Karina Esparza is not here, but she helps us make sure that our communications are going out quickly in multiple languages. So now I'll get to the stuff that they told me to say. So our staff members, Karma, Emily, Erin, Brian, and Karina, were honored this summer for their outstanding work. The staff was awarded honors by the National School Public Relations Association at its national seminar held in Washington, D.C. in July. And I'm happy to say that both Karma and Emily were there. Karma received a scholarship to attend through the local chapter. But this amazing team received a Golden Achievement Award for the 2018 Bond Measure Awareness Campaign that Karma managed and everyone else supported on. And then a Golden Achievement Award was also received for Everyday 24J, the campaign that Emily led, which, of course, we saw attendance improvements in 75% of our schools this year. So it's a campaign that has worked, and we are really excited about going into year 2 of that. The Golden Achievement Award recognizes exemplary public relations activities, programs, and projects. But we're not done, because Aaron Harada won an Award of Merit for in-house video media category for our employee news video that we create every other week, and somehow Aaron manages to find enough dad jokes to keep it going and keep people tuning in. And we watch those metrics and we see what's engaging our employees and what they're interested in watching and learning about, and we use that to guide our work. So NSPRA's Publications and Electronic Media Awards recognize outstanding education publications and marketing informational materials, print and electronic, video, TV, radio programs, social media, and websites. So Aaron does those. The NSPRA Awards program is the only national awards competition that specifically recognizes comprehensive strategic school public relations programs. And I will say, in my years of working in public education and the number of districts I've worked in, there is no more highly qualified team than the one that's standing before you right there. So thank you very much.
So there's no public comments, so we're going to move on to, let's see, 7A, approve the Memorandum of Agreement relating to the creation of a development council to form a continuum of care collaborative governance structure for the Marion-Polk County region. And Christy, you were talking about maybe we just want to talk about this today?
Yeah, let's see where people are on this. This is a memorandum of agreement that we have been asked to be a part of to tackle homelessness in our community in a strategic way. The partners that you see at the top of the memorandum of understanding are from around the region. Currently, on your memorandum, the Confederated Tribe is not on board either at all or yet, and then also the city of Salem has pulled. Basically, what the goal is that we will set up a development council, and the development council will then, in about 6 to 9 months, become a continuum of care and apply for the homelessness dollars at the federal level. When I presented it back in, several months ago, we were told at the time there wasn't a financial commitment because we were out of the budget cycle. Since that time, they've asked for all parties to put in some dollars to be part of the council. For Salem-Keizer, they are asking for a $5,000 commitment, which is similar to other jurisdictions. And currently, the table doesn't have anything in the to be determined, but there's also a 2-year commitment in the Memorandum of Understanding. So you can decide to vote on this tonight. It is asking for a 2-year commitment. There's no talk of what that financial commitment would be in the second year, which has left me a little uneasy about this. But we can also vote on it and move forward, or you can ask questions and we can come back.
So does anyone want to make a motion to vote on it? We can have discussion, I think, after we do a first and second, or do we do it out of order since we're not sure if we're even going to deal with this tonight?
Can we move to push it to the next meeting?
You could make a motion to push it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so Director
So I move that.
Lazy? No, sorry. Oh, you don't want to make a motion?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I move that we push the memorandum of agreement relating to the creation of a development council for a continuum of care to the September board meeting.
Second? By Director Blasey. Is there any discussion?
So I wasn't aware, so I represent the school board on the COG, and I wasn't aware of these changes. So we do have a meeting coming up, and actually I can talk with the director, Sean O'Day, about these changes, and I am curious about the city of Salem withdrawing at this point. And maybe they have the same concerns. Does it state?
Yeah, I think the
Is there
city of
information?
Silverton is withdrawing at this part.
Silverton.
Not-
I thought you said Salem.
No,
Okay, I'm sorry.
Silverton.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll reach out to Sean O'Day and get some more information and bring it back.
I've been in at least one development council meeting, and it just seems to be a bit of a moving target around how much. I get that's part of it, but it's a little hard for us to plan.
Did you have a comment, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great work. I think focusing on homelessness and having more local control over that is a great thing.
Agreed.
The only thing that worries me is that 2-year commitment. Even though it's a great thing, I don't want something to happen between now and then on that. And so waiting an extra month to get that reassurance, I think, would be good.
Okay. Paul?
I have a question on 3.1 responsibilities. The last sentence talks about the designated person will hold elected or senior staff roles in the decision-making for the organization. Have we determined who that would be? The only reason I ask,
Okay.
before you answer, because you might change your answer, the only reason I ask is because that implies that they will be making decisions on behalf of the group, and is that something, those decisions that should be coming back to us for input on before there are votes taken? That's why I was just curious.
Currently, it is, I'm the one set to be on the development council. Other than the issues of funding, I don't know that the decisions would have to come back to this board for approval. You could give that as a stipulation, but I don't know that, bylaws and things like that.
I'm just curious how that plays against the comments we heard earlier about that the superintendent's duties are to be focused on student achievement, and that this might be something that shouldn't go on the superintendent's plate and could go to someone else, and that might make more sense. That's why I was curious about this particular comment.
Got it.
So having a while to think about that would be
Yeah, that's
a good thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks.
Satya?
Madam Chair, I see on the item 9, there is a 30-day termination clause. So it's not going to bind us. However, homelessness is a huge problem for the children who come to school, and it does interfere with the graduation. It does interfere with the academic results that our school district is aiming for. And it is very important to participate in this coalition to address a common denominator. The variables that cause these social factors are, after all, going to interfere with the academic achievement that we want to see. So I see they are part of the same issue. It's like the flip side of the same problem. Our vision is student success. Taking care of the housing is an important thing. So that is where I'm saying, if there is the federal dollars that is going to be available, and if there is a time-bound response is needed, I'm just thinking, are we in a way serving the children's needs by not participating? Or if we delay, will that lead to delay in getting the federal dollars? That's not clear to me.
So there won't be a delay in federal dollars because the region can't apply for federal dollars till they get the continuum of care stood up. And this memorandum was around the development council of that. So waiting doesn't hold that up at all because they can't apply for federal funds yet.
Any other questions or comments? Sharon?
Just one real quick, because we have been talking about this for a while. So the significant increase in the dollars that would come to the region by standing up this continuum of care are incredibly significant. The percentage of dollars that we draw down right now are very, very minimal because we're part of the bulk of state. What is it called?
Balance of state.
Thank you. Balance of state. So we only receive a very small fraction of dollars distributed to the state, and this would allow us to apply for federal dollars as a much smaller organization. So it's to your point about the availability of federal funding, but it literally will take the organization about a year to fully stand up and apply and receive. So no, we have a little bit of time to make a decision, but they're trying to actually put this in place so we can apply next year. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more comments or questions? Seeing none, so we have a motion to postpone a vote on this until next month. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Moving on to 7B, from agenda modification, approve the lease agreement for the acquisition of Chromebooks and authorize the superintendent or chief operations officer as the superintendent's designee to sign all documents necessary to complete this transaction. Superintendent Perry, would you like to provide an overview of this?
Actually, our Chief Operations Officer, Mike Wolf, will provide an overview and apologize for the late agenda item. We were hoping we had maybe even a different strategy to consider around the Chromebook purchase, but we've come back to recommending a lease. So with that, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair High and Superintendent Perry and members of the board. Just want to give you a little bit of background on why we're bringing this forward. As Superintendent Perry said, it's part of a strategy to stay on a 5-year technology rotation. And our Director of Technology and Information Services, Bob Silva's here as well. And I just, as a preface to this, Bob's done an incredible job getting the district on a routine replacement cycle. Before, as we went through years and years of budget cuts, that kept sliding and sliding, and we had PCs, technology that was 7-10 years old. And so now getting us to a 5-year cycle was an enormous task. And so over the past 3 years, the district has increased student access to technology through investments in Chromebooks. And that provides, it enabled the district to implement innovative learning platforms such as the iReady Math, and you went through that adoption not too long ago. It's supported by technology and Chromebooks. During certain times of the year, many of the Chromebooks are not available to support classroom learning as they're used to support the testing and assessment requirements. So responding to feedback and requests from building administrators, teachers, our Director of Technology and Information Services has recommended adjusting the previously planned computer rotation cycle and purchasing additional Chromebooks to relieve the pressure created by condensed testing windows. This will replace Chromebooks in nearly every classroom across, place Chromebooks in nearly every classroom across the district. As I said, we're in the 5th year of a 5-year rotation plan that called for the replacement of approximately 3,500 PCs. And most of the PCs that we're talking about are between 6 and 9 years old and are overdue for replacement. The current cost to replace a PC is over $1,000 per, compared to a Chromebook, which is at about $167. So you can see there's an economy of scale with Chromebooks as opposed to PCs. By adjusting the plan to replace the 3,500 PCs with 15,000 Chromebooks, the overall cost to the computer rotation budget is reduced by approximately $500,000, $500,000. So we have been dealing with budget constraints, as I'd mentioned, and over the past 4 years, the technology budget, the department hasn't been adjusted and no longer supports. Let me rephrase that. There haven't been actual ad packages, although there have been additional investments about 4 years ago with a May adjustment. So it's not like we haven't been trying to adjust accordingly. But the point here is that the budget needs some relief, and the lease is a way to do that. It can help free up some cash flow now that can be reinvested in some of the core infrastructure outside of replacing the PCs. And so leasing as an option, this lease provides an option to address instructional technology needs now and frees up critical capital needed to maintain and upgrade other infrastructure systems, such as our physical and cybersecurity systems. Its reputable leasing company, Insight Financial Services, is a service provider approved by the OETC, the Oregon Educational Technology Consortium, which is a nonprofit consortium comprised of 7 Western states. So they pool their purchasing power. It's approved cooperative agreements between states, and so this is one of the service providers from that consortium. If the alternative to leasing would be to wait until the 2021 budget development cycle to request additional funds to stay on a routine replacement cycle. But that would extend the entire rotation by a year. So instead of a 5-year rotation, we'd now be on a 6-year rotation. We think that this is the option for you to consider and approve. And we would ask you to approve the lease purchase, knowing that we have still final legal counsel review to do. There's a statement in the master lease agreement, which is part of your packet. I know you haven't had a ton of time to go over this. We've done similar transactions with buses, lease purchase for buses. And so the terms and conditions are known to us. There's a non-appropriation clause in there which protects the district if, in fact, we run into budget deficits over the course of this lease period. It basically says that as long as we try really hard to find the money for this lease, and we can't, we're out of the lease. So that's the non-appropriation clause, which is absolutely appropriate for this. And again, part of the master lease agreement is an opinion from our legal counsel that everything is in order. So we don't have the full agreement in front of you today, ready to go, but we're asking for your permission to move forward, knowing that we've got to go through legal counsel review on this.
Any questions? Paul?
I move that we approve the lease agreement for the acquisition of the Chromebooks.
Second from
Second.
Satya, second? Yes. Okay. Discussion? I just want to say, as a former IT professional, I know that current technology is very important. You want something that you can actually get assistance for if you need it, right? From Microsoft or whoever, Google, whoever you're getting it from. So I will be voting in favor. Any other? Kathy?
Mike, tell me the difference between the Chromebooks and the PCs.
So a PC, a replacement for one is about $1,000, and a Chromebook is about $167.
So there's a reason for that difference, I assume. Is it the life of the book or the PC, or what's the big reason for the difference? They don't do as much?
I'm going to take a stab at it, and then Bob will be here. My sense is the PC is a much more sophisticated device than a Chromebook, so it has more capability. But for students, we don't need that level of capability. The Chromebook's more than suffice for the educational needs.
The book something akin to a tablet?
It is.
Okay.
My understanding, and I could be wrong, and Bob, you can correct me, is that a Chromebook, pretty much you have to do everything, it's on the cloud, versus a PC, you'll have your Microsoft Word or Excel actually loaded onto your PC itself, and here you're going to have to go to the cloud to do your work, is my understanding of the difference, but I could be wrong.
The easiest way to explain it is a Chromebook is Google Chrome in a box. That's literally all the Chromebook is. It can't run your Microsoft Office. It can't run a lot of the stuff that we buy PCs to run for the organization. But for a student, most of their programs, almost all of them, are online and accessed through Google Chrome. So a Chromebook allows them to do that through that low-cost Chromebook. So it's a much better investment, and we can obviously buy a lot more Chromebooks than we can PCs, which is what we used to do.
So,
Madam Chair, I have a clarification. Do students take this Chromebook home
Not
so you can
currently.
study?
Not currently.
Kathy, you were still.
so my tablets, honestly, I think I've had 3 of them now. And what you say is true. They're easy to use. I like them. They're light. They're portable, all of that. But they don't last, frankly, a long time. Give me an idea of what the life of a tablet or a Chromebook is. What are
Sure.
they saying?
Chromebook's lifetime, the hardware is, so they're still a relatively new-ish product. So Google sets the expectation of life on those, on how long Google will support, very similar to our iPhones. Once Apple says we stop supporting, your iPhone kind of becomes much less usable. So a Chromebook will easily go about 5 to 6 years, and then it hits Google's mandatory deadline for stop supporting for updates.
As a student, I can say Chromebooks are nice.
Well, there you have it.
Like, the problem Chromebooks solve for us is that we have 42,000 students. That would be $42 million worth of PCs. We don't have $42 million to do that. So we're able to provide a Chromebook equal to providing one for every student at much lower cost. So it just gives us scale without the funding. And the students love them. And to answer your question, we have not, some students do take them home, like early college, high school. They send Chromebooks home with the students. But we just haven't managed the logistics because there haven't been enough devices in the classrooms to manage also taking them home.
Did that answer your question, Kathy?
Yes, and frankly, I don't know if I'd vote for it if it wasn't for the fact that those are big amounts of money. And you're right, if we don't have it right now, there isn't a whole lot of choice. So I will take that, but I've gone through a lot of tablets lately, and I'm not greatly in favor of them.
Danielle?
I actually support the Chromebook concept. As a mom of a student in the district who uses the Chromebooks in the school, I noticed this year with the limited access that her classmates had, they were challenged from going from a library PC to do particular work back to the Chromebook and then transitioning home to try to complete their work and trying to keep track of the apps versus the online software, or not the online software, but the PC software. So I appreciate that there's one methodology that we're looking at to try to support them in their home to school work via the Chromebook.
Satya?
I'll be backing it.
Madam Chair, we also have to look at this digital access as an equity issue. Because we're going to prepare these kids for the future. The future is now. And I really would like to see that our children are not deprived of this digital divide. So in that respect, really, it is an important skill, just like learning to speak a language, cross a street, to use technology, because otherwise our kids will be left out. And our children don't sit and study in one stretch. They need to have the flexibility of studying in different ways. So I feel that for that sake, we need to provide them the way to jumpstart rather than having to get a book only in school. There will be small challenges because a lot of our children don't have stable housing, so cloud access may be a difficult thing. We may be able to start thinking of keeping the library open or different ways to get them some little bit more accommodation put in place. But I don't think this is an issue that we can put it off, because this is an absolutely necessary for our children to be ready for the real world.
Yeah.
So for that reason, we need to think in terms of helping them.
Totally agree.
Any other
there to the
questions
motion?
or comments? Seeing none, the motion was to go ahead and purchase, correct? Because we're not really doing a first reading, because
No,
this is an emergency.
I think the
or-
motion is that the board approve the lease agreement for the acquisition of additional Chromebooks and authorize the chief operations officer as the superintendent's designee to sign all documents necessary to complete the transaction.
Great, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay.
Thank you.
Next is the consent calendar. Is there anything anybody wants to pull? The only thing, I don't see anything, so the only thing I'd like to pull is grant G20K5. Would somebody like to make a motion on approving everything else?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent calendar, except for item G
20K5.
20K5.
A second?
It's the last
Do
one.
I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. So I just have a little question on, oh, I'm sorry. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? No. Okay. G20K5, my only question
I
was,
think you should have a motion first. And
oh,
then-
for a motion for this one? For the G20K5?
We move to approve it?
You would, and then you could, somebody would move to approve it, and then you'd have discussion, because I think there's questions.
Yeah, I have a question on this.
Okay,
one.
I
Do
move
need
that
somebody to
we-
make a motion on it?
I move that we approve grant G20K5.
Second.
Second from Paul, thank you. Discussion? My question was that we already have health curriculum in place, and I just was curious as to what the grant dollars, how they were going to be used since we already have the curriculum in place.
So the My Future, My Choice is related to the sixth grade health education curriculum, and it allows for PD for our teachers, but also them to buy some additional materials and resources with the grant.
Anybody else have questions about that? Seeing none, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? There are no readings tonight. We're on reports, and I'm going to turn this over to our superintendent.
All right, I'm going to provide you with a report on executive limitation number 3, relationships with students, parents, and community. And the intent of this report, especially tonight, is just to highlight some of the past things we've done. Much of this report is similar, but I'll turn to page 2 of the report and just go through a couple of the items. Bullet number 2, right under the chart. This does highlight that we've begun doing the QPR suicide prevention training. I also highlighted that in a previous executive limitation. Last year, we worked pretty hard in bullet number 2 on the internal equity lens for our work. Last year also, the community bond oversight, the board asked for some additional representation, and so we have some good representation on that board, including representation from the McKay feeders area. Second to last bullet on the page is around our training. We are continuing, we did train and will continue to train our administrators and office staff around regarding immigration officials attempting to contact students at school. I just kind of want to point out the fact that this right now is a really big deal for our kids, and anything we can do to help them feel safe to come to school, it doesn't help them in their worry about what they're worrying about that they're going home to. So we've seen plenty of news stories, and there are plenty of local reports of immigration officials. So I think that's just really important to keep on our minds and to think about how we can really stand with our kids right now. So without psychological safety, learning is hard, and I think we have a whole group of kids without psychological safety right now. On the next page, bullet number 2, we've been working to find different ways to support our LGBTQ community and our transgender community, complete with some of the work we've done in highlighting that for our community through our communication, but also in attending their events and even being at the Gay Pride this past weekend or two as well. And I think that, again, is another group of our students that should be really on our minds, and we should be thinking carefully about how we support them and our messages around support. Next two were around the Boundary Review Task Force, which you are well versed in, I think. Last one is Everyday 24J Attendance Campaign. We have seen increased attendance in 75% of our schools. And last bullet is around our communication strategies, and I'll save that because Lillian will do a report on that at our work session in August. And then finally, there is one pending EL information. We did have an audit by the Oregon Department of Education around our district summer food service program. Minor discrepancies were noted, and we've already put the corrective action plans in place. One finding noted that the district did not have a dedicated staff position to conduct ongoing site monitoring requirements. This was already a known deficiency to staff, and we have been actively recruiting to fill a newly created position, and it'll be funded out of the food service fund. So the new person will start in August and will immediately begin training. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Paul?
On page 2,
Yes?
the 6th bullet, I think, the one between the two you talked about.
Yep.
The written complaint.
The written complaint procedure, is it only in English?
I would really be surprised if it was only in English, but I think it's,
Okay, Alice
Yep,
says it's
okay.
attached, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do.
Danielle?
On this second page, the second to last bullet, when you talked about continued training provided around the, basically our safe schools, is there a conversation happening at all about how we're pushing that information out to the community so that way parents and community members understand how our schools are safe?
Yeah, we do that through our external communication, and we'll get ready to do another launch of that with the start of school coming out. So we did a pretty big launch prior to when we first did the Safe and Welcoming Schools, and we have a couple nice graphics around it. And then at key points in time, then we will push it out again. So around ballot measure 105, before the election, we pushed it out as a reminder that regardless of the outcome of the election, we still protected our kids' safety at school.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? So, on to the Community Bond Oversight Committee, Superintendent?
Yeah, I'll just give a quick overview. We've had our latest Community Bond Oversight Committee. The way we'll do this is we'll remind you who is on the committee and the current update. And this time they met at North Salem High School, and they once they completed their meeting, they had a tour of the North Salem construction. And so it's just, I guess I would open up to see if you have any questions. There wasn't a lot of content at the meeting.
Sean?
So it's not so much of a question. I just wanted to really give a shout out to the communications team around how all of this work is messaged, especially on the website. I mean, it is phenomenal. If you go to the website, you can click on any school, you can see by year, you can hover over the bar graph and it'll tell you the anticipated dates. There's photos. I mean, it's really phenomenal, and I think that's a huge part of this is the communication around this. So I think you guys are doing an outstanding job keeping the community aware of what's going on. So thank you.
Any more comments or questions? Okay. Next is Board and Budget Committee meeting schedule, which is at the end of your agenda information.
Yeah, and this is the meeting schedule for the year. At this point, we did not place a meeting on Thanksgiving week, which would be the second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday of the month. And then on August 27th, the South Salem High School Culinary Department has offered to make you dinner. So we'll get more details out about that. And any one of our culinary programs, they do a pretty good job too. So, well, yeah, Sharon says South is the best, but maybe we should have a taste test. We might have a taste test.
Let's have
I
Battle
judged the
of the High
competition.
School
Yeah. Salem did
chefs.
good.
Mhm, Battle of the High School Chefs. So anyway, we'll get information out about what time that is.
Okay, so now it's time for public comment on non-agenda items. And we have two people today. And I'll mention the two names so you can get ready as I read the information. Jan Montes and Reginald Richardson. So we will now hear public comment. This section of public comment is for addressing topics not related to the agenda. Please state your name, city of residence, and the topic you are addressing for the record. Each speaker has 3 minutes, and the timer will beep when your time has expired. Again, we want to hear from you, but we ask that you please respect the time limit and speak with courtesy and consideration of the board and the audience. So go ahead.
My name is Jan Montes, and I live in Northeast Salem near North Salem High School. I'm a mother of 6 sons who are students in the school district. I appreciate you hearing me this evening. For the record, the last time I spoke was during the No on Measure 105 campaign. For those here in the audience who do not know, that was a campaign to stop the removal of Oregon's 30-year-old anti-racial profiling law founded in 1987. The purpose of the law was to ensure that our farm workers, the very people who harvest our food, who in my opinion are the most important people in Oregon, were not racially profiled while driving to their farm labor jobs. The majority of the farm workers in 1987 were Mexican immigrants and as are they still in 2019. Despite the school board not joining the fight against this horrifically mean and racially unjust actions spurred by OFER, Oregons for Immigration Reform, a hate group, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, our school board members aligned themselves with the views of OFER. Fortunately, the law remains and Measure 105 was not installed. Had the 30-year-old anti-racial profiling law been removed, the home lives of the Latino children in Salem would have been affected. After reading the article in the Salem Reporter dated August 12, 2019, I read that the chair of the school board stated that those who disagree with her politically shouldn't be concerned and that she expects the board to be physically conservative since it's working with taxpayer money, but there's no conservative agenda on the board to change the district's sex education program, which is mandated by state standards or otherwise raise partisan issues. I do not consider an anti-racial profiling law to be a partisan issue or a political issue. I consider it to be a basic human right and a morality issue. Many times during the campaign, it was stated by our school board that it was too political for them to support. I believe that had this law been taken away, our Latino students would have been affected, not only while in their classes, but when they arrive home to their homes, compounding the anxiety and stress they already feel. The school and home continuum are ever interconnected. It was a cruel notion and a racist notion for our school board to not engage. Portland Public School Board, the City of Salem, the City of Portland, to mention a few, all felt it necessary to back the No on Measure 105 campaign in order to show support to the students in Oregon. Salem School Board chose to not engage because they deemed the anti-racial profiling law to be too political in their opinion. This past weekend, another fight that shouldn't have had to be fought was won. The fight had affected our students for an entire decade. Our farm workers will soon be able to have driver's licenses again. This will affect our students in Salem in a positive way and relieve much anxiety and stress for immigrant children who unnecessarily have had to worry whether their parents would make it to and from work safely. Many
you.
students, when they reached driving age, stepped up to the plate and drove their parents to the farms where they worked before
you,
heading
Jan.
to school and then returning to the
Thank
farms
you,
after
Jan.
school to pick up their parents.
Thank
I
you, Jan.
disagree with the chair of the school board when she comments that those who disagree with her politically need not worry. I believe that they must worry. I believe that this very school board must use their wits to think through to the extent that not only their actions concerning the time our students are in school, but
Your
also
time
the
is
time our
up,
students
Jan.
are
Thank you
traveling
very much.
to and
Out of
from our
consideration
schools.
for Reginald
Thank you.
Richardson, would you please allow him his time to speak? Thank you.
Don't start the clock yet.
We'll give you lots of time to get set up there.
Chair, Superintendent Perry, and members of the board, my name is Dr. Reginald Richardson, and I'm the Vice President of the Salem-Keizer NAACP. On behalf of the NAACP, I offer my voice of welcome to the newest board members for this group. Recently, I conducted an analysis of publicly available achievement data for the performance of African American students in this district. As you know, or you should know, the district has failed these students at all academic levels. The NAACP looks forward in working with you in partnership to improve student outcomes for African American students, including the recruitment, retaining, and supporting African American staff. In our recent strategic plan, we included partnering with the school board to create a safe and welcoming district for our students, faculty, and staff of color. This is a major strategic priority for our branch. Therefore, we offer our collaboration, our support, and our expertise. However, make no mistake, we are prepared by a variety of means to hold you accountable for the continued failure to provide high-quality education experience for our students. I thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you as we partner together to improve the performance of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing today. Trying to find another page. Okay, now it is time for our board activity report. Shall we start down at that end? Do you have anything you'd like to share, Satya?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank Superintendent Perry and the district for organizing a very nice training on diversity, inclusiveness, and equity. I think this is a very important topic that's near and dear to me, and the way it was organized and including the board members to attend that would allow all of us to have a shared narrative. And my hope is we reach a point where we have similar educational opportunities or curriculum which gets embedded in right from the get-go for all the children from K to 12, so that we can literally change oil while driving our car and bring about a change in narrative in relationship or race relationship in our community. Because our goal is for our community to be a harmonious place for all children as they grow up. We have got close to 80 different languages spoken, very different demographic mix, and a lot of people of color are very scared for a variety of reasons to come to an organized meeting like this and speak up. This is very uncommon. So this gives us a perspective to, this is a beginning, and the journey has to go on, and hopefully it will eventually lead to curriculum changes so that we can start thinking in terms of how do we start having a very harmonious community and not allow our community to kind of get into difficult situations as this cohort of children grow up. So thank you very much, and thank you, Superintendent Perry, for organizing and allowing me to sit in that.
Sean?
Okay, so just a quick report on a couple of committees that I represent on our behalf. SCEF, so the Salem-Keizer Education Foundation, exciting news. They recently have announced that they are hiring Kelly Carlisle, formerly of Salem-Keizer School District. He will become the new executive director, I believe, starting in September. And those of you who might remember, Kelly was the assistant superintendent up until he retired in 2018. And then he went to work in his retirement at George Fox. He was the director of licensure programs, and also a South Salem High School graduate, which I didn't realize until earlier. But I think this will be a huge plus for this community, especially for SCEF. They have undergone some changes and some challenges, and I think Kelly is the right person to get SCEF back on track and refocused on their mission and supporting our students and our families in the district. So that's a really, really exciting news. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I had the opportunity to take a tour and visit some of our students who are participating in a grant program. They're a part of our community transitions program, and one of our program managers had applied for a grant which allowed our students, and these are our students who are continuing in their life learning. So we still call them students because they are learning life skills. And I got to go and see some of those amazing, amazing, amazing students at their job sites, which are our schools. And so some of them are working in the lunchrooms, some of them are working in the libraries, and I know that they've created a video that I think we might be seeing. I think we're going to be seeing. It's pretty phenomenal. These are just incredible young men and women who are just phenomenal, inspirational students. So, thank you.
Kathy?
So it has been busy, and the first thing I didn't get a chance to watch, unfortunately, but Little League, we really scored big in Salem, and I'm sure there'll be other comments as it goes around, so I'll quit on that one. I was able to watch a great number of Salem kids on swim teams this summer. I had a grandson on one, and as a result, I went to Almsville, Turner, Salem, all over for swim team meets. And I think it's just a wonderful opportunity for kids to learn to swim better, faster, and be more competitive. As far as Kelly Carlisle is concerned, I know we have a back-to-school lunch coming, so we'll have an opportunity to contribute to kids returning to school, and I think that'll be fun. Sure. Yep. And it's going to be at the conference center, so there's room for all of us. And I was blessed to be able to put 4 students from Salem-Keizer schools into the CTEC program for the summer. And they've been hired by businesses, those 4, and they earn a salary through the summer. And they do site cleanup for builders and that sort of thing. And talking to them, there were 4 students that I put in there, 2 boys and 2 girls, and all employers were absolutely tickled with the girls, who worked much harder, they said, than the boys in that program. So we'll just take that for what it's worth. Jesse?
That's Good. Don't know if I can top that. First off, want to reiterate the fact that on September 10th, there's going to be a fundraiser for SCEF, so be there, be square. Second, we are Little League champs, so that's awesome. Next, the Community Bond Oversight Committee. We did meet at North Salem High School. We went and got a tour. It was pretty cool. We got to be there as what was the pool is now a giant weight. It's basically a gym, my kind of gym. It's just a giant warehouse with weights in it, so it's fantastic. We got to see all these kids training. It was cool. And then we went and toured the site while they're under construction, and it is going to look so good when it's done. I mean, it's going to be awesome for these kids. We saw some of the science rooms. We remodeled it in such a way that it's going to be so much more effective for students. It's just going to be great. Alrighty, and then we went to the summer graduation at West Salem High School. That was pretty awesome. Satya was there with us as well, and then Danielle was on stage. She was boss lady there. And lastly, I'm sure other board members did as well, but Satya and I and Paul, we were at a equity, diversity, and inclusion training this morning. It was awesome. I'm so glad that we went to this. It just, it pushes us to talk about race and gender in ways that you typically don't. And so it was really cool. Just for me personally, race is something that I'm constantly wrestling between my identities as Native American kid or white kid, and so it's a constant wrestling match for me as far as like identity goes. And so being able to talk about that in a setting with other school administrators or other education leaders, it was pretty cool. It was an interesting conversation for sure.
Danielle.
Yay. So I have three things. One, I want to talk about on August 1st, some of us participated in what I find to be very profound. It was called the Strong Families, Resilient Neighbors Call to Action, and it's a committee, a task force that many business owners and advocacy organizations and school district members have been participating on for more than a year. And it came to fruition to mostly an all-day conversation about how do we make our kids the healthiest we can make them in the best district in Oregon. And I was able to participate at a table with Satya and a few other members who I see here in the audience. And it was remarkable for me. I'm lucky to be a part of that. I am a part of it as the Keizer Chamber Director, but as a school board director, it's wonderful to see the number of people in our district wanting to participate in that space, knowing that the classroom isn't always the place to solve the challenges our students face, and going outside of their schools into their neighborhoods specifically to see how we can make them the best is profound. And then that same night, we were at West Salem to walk 31 kids across the stage, and Superintendent Perry gracefully let me get up there and tell my story and make a connection with those students is something that I'll never forget, and I'm very proud of all of them and hope to continue to see that tradition grow in the future, maybe with other partners. And then just a plug for Keizer. On 8/26, every year the Keizer Chamber hosts all of our teachers in the Keizer schools and their staff to lunch. It's wonderful. We always have several hundred show up, and Superintendent Perry comes. I would invite you, Marty, to come and be there and speak if you'd like. Normally they would give that to me, but I'm happy to be there as a chamber director. So it's very exciting. Thank you.
Paul?
Nothing. What?
What I have is not really something I did, but something I've been thinking about since the election. And it's why do we live in certain zones, yet the whole district votes for every seat? Wouldn't it be simpler and fair to only have the zone vote for the person, that's going to be their representative? So I would like to take a look at our zone boundaries, how we vote for directors and how other districts do it as well. And Christy, what would be the best way for us to accomplish that?
I think probably a subcommittee of the board, a couple board members, and let's get some community members that represent our students in some sort of a subcommittee of the board, or a superintendent subcommittee that could involve board members. Either one.
So we will move forward with that. Anything else, superintendent's report?
Well, you guys took most of my things, so awesome. First of all, I just want to tag on to Danielle and the Resilient Neighborhoods conversation we have. The hope of the Business Education Collaborative is that they'll work with Hallman and Auburn to start by thinking about how do we create stronger and more resilient families in those neighborhoods. And they believe if they can come up with how we'll do it there, then it can be replicated to other elementary school feeder areas. So that's their focus. And in addition, the collaborative has added South Salem High School to the Plus 10 graduation program like they've done with McKay and with North. So the schools that the collaborative will be working with this year: Auburn, Hallman, South, McKay, and McNary. And isn't it awesome when we have community partners that want to surround us to improve outcomes for kids? With that, the other thing is the Waldo groundbreaking is Thursday at 10 o'clock. 10, okay. Yeah, 10 a.m. And so, Lillian, do you have something to say about that?
Well, not necessarily about that, but in regard to Jesse's comments about touring the site, everyone can tour the site, not only at North, but at McNary and Gebser. If you go to coin.com right now, they just posted a story. It's on our social media feeds too. But they spent multiple days with us doing tours of those sites. So we encourage you to go there, and then you don't have to change your footwear or wear a hard hat. Just enjoy the videos.
There you go. All right, and that's it for me.
All right, that ends our meeting tonight. Thank you.